Okay, good morning. I am Charlotte. Charlotte's a Natural, once again with you on Wisdom Wednesday. And if you've been following my first couple of videos, last week I talked about our sewing machine being neglected and how we need to be sure to give it tender loving care and to clean it out so that we keep the lint from building up and making it jam and stuff. So there's another piece of like really neglected equipment in most sewing rooms and on most cutting tables, and that's the rotary cutter. So today I thought I would talk a little bit about rotary cutters and how to clean it, because I'm kind of surprised how often people come in with a rotary cutter that isn't working, and it turns out that it's not the cutter, that they have replaced the blade, which is why they're frustrated, and they have actually just put the blade back in the wrong way. So I thought I'd cover that a little bit and just talk about the importance of starting with a new blade when you're starting a new project, because actually these blades do get dull, and a sharp blade actually cuts the fabric instead of pushing through the fabric, and so you have better accuracy. But anyway, so let's just talk about the different blades that, the different cutters that are available, because there are lots of them. This is probably my favorite brand, Clover. That doesn't mean that has to be your favorite brand, but it fits my hand and it's very comfortable for my hand. I did read a sort of authoritative article that talked about the ergonomics, and that the small blade is a better for your body ergonomically for cutting. And I think it's also actually better for cutting, because most of the time we're just cutting one or two layers, so you don't really need the big blade. Smaller blades are less expensive to replace. So anyway, lots of reasons that I think you should really get used to this. And I know a lot of people cut with this, and many people even cut with the larger one, which I have somewhere here on one of my shelves, one of my drawers, but I'll take a look for it. Anyway, so part of the reason, the other thing is that I know a lot of people sit down to cut. So if you were sitting down and you had a cutting table this high, or even low down like this, if you have this one, you can see the angle of my arm and shoulder and everything has changed. Even here it's not as good, and it's just a millimeter, but according to this article, the ergonomics expert, that really does make a difference. So be kind to your body and choose the right cutter for the job, which most of the time is the smaller one. They actually do make even smaller ones than this. And these actually, what I like about these is that they turn curves very easily. So if I'm cutting something that's curvy, that's a good size to have. Anyway, so let's get back to the changing of the blade. So basically, most of the cutters, you have a screw tab on the back. Occasionally there's one on the front. This is actually Mary, who works at our store. This is her favorite cutter. And this is a Martelli, and it does have a screw on the knob on the front. But I'm going to talk about these that have it on the back. So when you take it apart, you should really just take it apart and kind of lay it out in the order that it comes off. So this, I'm going to lay this down, and you can see there's like an indentation that's going to fit over a part here. Then I'm going to lay this down, and then I'm going to gently pull this out, and then this is the blade comes off of this. So what to do with this terribly sharp blade? So I happen to have a little box that we actually mark used. So we mark it used, and we put the blades in there, and then we're going to throw that in the trash. If you don't have that, you should, because you're putting in a new one. But if you are like us and you're using multiple packs, at least take a piece of tin foil and put this in the tin foil and then wrap it around so that somebody doesn't accidentally reach into the trash and get it out and get cut. So that's how I would dispose of this in your home. So once we put that away, then we're going to get out a new one. Now the new ones actually come, and they have just a light coating of oil on them, so they actually stick together. So if you were pulling out, this is the Olfa, and if you were pulling out the blades out of here, you would find that they had a little film of oil on them, and this means it's times 2 blades, they're stuck together. And I have seen on more than one occasion somebody's brought the cutter with the new blade in it into the store and says it just isn't cutting right, And what it's doing is leaving a little tiny remnant of fabric. And what has happened is they've actually gotten both blades installed, so they have a little tiny gap between the two blades, and it's cutting a little tiny ribbon, just a little bit bigger than a thread, and leaving that way. So be sure that you're only putting in one blade if you've bought a pack of two. Now, Clover actually packs theirs in separately, and they've got a little safety feature here. There's a protective blade holder that makes it easier to handle. So that's the Clover. I also like Clover. The Clover blades are a little less expensive than the Olfa blades. Doesn't make them better or worse, but those actually are the exact same price now. Shows you what I'm doing. $6.60 for a single blade, and I think a pair of those is over $13, so about the same. So forget that I said the price makes a difference. So we're going to put this on. We're going to take this, we're going to dust this off because there will be lint in it. If you have one of these that has the ergonomic handle with the spring in it, we're going to do that, brush it out. We're going to put that back in. Now I'm going to put this back on. I'm going to turn this over, and then I'm going to go in the same order that they're laid out, which is the reverse order of how I took them off. There's a little shape to this bolt. I'm going to get that settled down, and then that shape needs to fit into this little divot in the bolt. So that's how it will go back together. So that is how you would do that one. These others are just very similar. I'm going to show you the larger one of the other brand. So this is the 45 millimeter Clover. Again, this one, the bolt unscrews on the back, but it doesn't come off. So now I can feel this is loose. Same thing. I'm going to take this. If this comes off, I'm going to just set this down. And I can see it's kind of dirty, so I'll want to brush that, clean that off. This is coming down. This, I'll show you this in a second. This has, you can see this has thread and lint stuck on it, and that's because that had that little oily film on it when I first put it in. I'm going to set that down and clean that little grit that's built up in there. And maybe I don't need a new blade at all. Maybe all I need to do is clean it out. So I will clean this up a little bit. I will put a little drop of oil on there. Very minuscule amount of oil. I'm going to stick this back on there. Oops. Now, this has an L. Can you see that, Kristen? It has an L and an R on it. So I want the right, I'm right-handed, so I want the R up. So make sure I put the R up. And I'm going to put this back down in here. Again, it has a flat side and the hole has a flat side, so I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to screw it back together. So I have that all nice and working, and then my safety blade goes up and down. So these all work pretty much the same way. This one I can see this one needs cleaning. This one is a new, easier. You can see I was fumbling a little bit with that, and maybe your hands, you have a little bit of a tremor or something. That wouldn't be a good one for you to do. But this one, Olfa has a quick change, blade change, so you just pull that down and now the whole thing releases. So we're going to do that. This has all kinds of lint in it. We're going to take this out. This one looks quite dirty. We could clean it, or we could change it out for a new one. When I buy multi-packs, we like to mark them, so that tells me those blades were new to 120. That also reminds me, well, what if I come along today and it's only the 4th of February? Dang, I wonder if I hit a pin or something. Why do I have a nick in this? Or maybe I did just cut out a whole bunch of flannel and I need to clean it up. So I'm going to clean my cutter even if I'm putting in a new blade. Oh, okay, I'll use the trash can, not the floor. Clean it up some. Then I'm going to take, if you need a paper towel or something, and wipe it out. Wipe this out. Again, we talked about when we were cleaning the sewing machine that metal on metal is what needs to be cleaned. I'm going to clean the lint off of this. And it's kind of oily. So put this back down on there. little drop of oil right in there to help it glide a little bit. This is where I'm noticing the metal on metal, so you could do that right there. Nice thing about using sewing machine oil is it should be formulated so that it does not stain fabric. That is not something you should be worried about. Okay, so then we just click that back up, click this back up, oops, and the blade is not new in this case, but it's been freshened, so I think we'll get a bunch more mileage out of it. So that's basically just a reminder that you should clean your blade maybe before you even try changing it, but definitely change it if you've noticed that you're pushing the fabric instead of cutting it. Comes in fashion colors now. This is the newest color, Splash. If you've noticed, several of the fabric companies and color gurus have noted that blue or some version of blue is kind of the color of the year. Just the pink always good for cancer, breast cancer awareness. Then we have the small one. Then this is a rotary pinking blade, and this one is actually a special cutter that Olfa came out with. But you can actually fit, a lot of pinking blades will fit on a regular cutter. So this is the pinking blade for clover, and it actually will fit on their regular cutter, as does, I believe that you can also put an Olfa blade on your 45mm. You don't need the special cutter. This is a new thing, and I'm going to open this right in front of you. I just got these. This is a fairly reasonably priced set of 3, 20, 28, and 45. And I just ordered this to use in the store, and we haven't opened it yet, but I think we're going to open it, and we're going to start using it today in the store, and I will report to you how I like these. Oops, it doesn't even need to be cut open. So these are, I'll tell you one thing, it would take, they're lighter weight. They're definitely lighter weight. These two weigh significantly, this is less, so if weight is an issue for you, that might be good. It has the safety blade. That's always an easy, very easy to operate. You wouldn't forget to close that. This has the same thing. I like it. It has the fat handle, which makes it more ergonomic in your hand. And this, again, if you don't use that very often, this might be a good way to have it. I don't like this feel in my hand at all. It's very flat and lightweight, feels like I'm holding a plastic fork, to tell you the truth. So anyway, we'll report on those in another future Wisdom Wednesday. Thanks for joining me, and have a great day.